Oh, the draft is coming, folks. Let me read to you here. I wrote the words down verbatim here. Okay, this is from a document talking about manpower needs. The Army was short 20,000 recruits last month. They're now going to be short, they estimate, 25,000 this month. They're not meeting requirements. That's because warriors don't want to be woke. I'm being very serious. That's why. And they don't want to be thrown into a meat grinder in Ukraine. Do you know now with the frontline troops in Ukraine, I'm reading some casualty reports coming out, 80 to 90% casualties in these units. This is what your kids are going to be going to pretty soon. Here, let me give you the documentation here, okay? From the recent draft projection report for the U.S. military, they categorize this as casualties, replacements, and reconstitution. Replacements is the key. Clearly, there are already plans to put frontline existing veteran soldiers into Ukraine and fight. To me, there's no other way to interpret this. And then they went on to say in the document that we need to engage in a limited scope draft. Well, first of all, that's BS, because there'll be no such thing as a limited scope. There won't be any such thing. They'll take as many people as they need. When the Vietnam War started, they said, well, okay, if you're in college, you get to the next semester to go. It's okay. We'll even let you finish, maybe college deferment. And then, of course, you got a marriage deferment. And so then they started doing is they did away with college deferment. Then everybody got married. And then they did away with marriage deferment. You could have a family deferment. Then they did away with that, which just progressively, because the manpower needs just got bigger. And by 1968, we had 500,000 ground troops in South Vietnam. Still couldn't make the country the way we wanted. Not because of the soldiers, because the strategy was flawed. Intentionally draw out the war, maximize military profits. Boy, I'll tell you, war is a great racket if you can get on both sides of it. You get supply both sides. You get to do the banks to loan for the buildup. You get control of the banks to pay for the end of the war and the cleanup and all that. You pay for the war while it's going on. It's a great job if you can get it. Problem is, though, is they want to send our kids into it. And I've been saying this forever. This is the danger. Look at Biden's a liar. We won't send the A1 Abrams tank. They sent it. We won't send the F-16. We won't send drones. They sent them. Okay? All these things they said they were going to do, they've done. We will not send, this guy, Woodrow Wilson, I will not send young American boys to the battlefields of Europe to die. And it's exactly what he did. It's exactly what he did. And they want to do it to your kids. I have to ask you a question, parents and grandparents, and also young men and young women, because it's going to be women too. What is your line in the sand? What is your line in the sand? When are you going to say, hell no, we won't go? When are you parents and grandparents going to stand up and say, this is it. We're mobilizing the country now. We're standing up to your tyranny. We're saying no to all your BS. We don't even have a treaty agreement with Ukraine. See, I've been for humanitarian aid. But why aren't we trying to negotiate a ceasefire? That's not the goal, is it? Just ask BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. There's no money in ceasefire. I have a kid that will be a draft age. Guess what? He ain't going. Will all of you take the pledge? We ain't going. You know how the Me Too movement caught that real catchy phrase and it got people's attention and said, yeah, we can't allow sexual assault on women. Of course not. And in the Me Too movement, we need a catchy phrase like that. How about the Not Me movement? Not me. Pass right over. But I volunteer Antifa. No more. Folks, I'm telling you, we're not going to go through this. And I'm telling you right now, it ain't going to happen in my household. I don't care if we have to go to Costa Rica. Ain't happening, Joe. I know he thinks as he sucks down his ice cream cone, well, just make him. Well, we'll see how many millions you can make. Ladies and gentlemen, spread the word. I read to you right from the document here. They're having a draft.
Shalom. I'd like to start out by giving all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakach Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of Israel. This is the Mayim in Atlanta, and what you just saw there was Dave Hodges going into a document showing that a draft is on the horizon. And the U.S. in particular has enemies everywhere on all sides of them. He's got China, he's got Russia, he's got the different bands or the different allies of Russia, and various other nations, Iran, Iraq, most of the, as Apostle Malcolm or Elder Malcolm says, of Western Asia, most of those countries in Western Asia, otherwise known as the Middle East, those are all enemies to the U.S., to Babylon the Great, or Mystery Babylon. And all these things are adding up to where a war will eventually come. And it's prophesied within the scriptures there will be a third world war, and that is the war to take down all of the Gentile kingdoms. That is how they go out. In the valley of Jehoshaphat, or Jehoshaphat, the Lord's judgment. That's the battle of Armageddon. That is how these Gentile kingdoms fall, or at least one of the ways in which they fall, because Yahushua is going to return with fire and with his chariots to mop up these people, and the nukes are also going to get let off, and that'll be that. That'll be the end of Esau's rulership. That'll be the end of the time of the Gentiles, and that'll be the beginning of Yahushua's rulership with Jacob as heirs, or Israel as heirs and joint rulership with them. And so we'll get into the scriptures, because this is all prophesied to happen. As it says in Revelation 11, the second woe passes, and the third is yet to come. Paraphrasing, but those woes go into the world wars. Woe meaning destruction, and war is destruction. It's complete destruction. And this third world war is going to be the most complete of the destruction. So we're going to start out here in Joel 3 and verse 9. It says, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong." And so the Lord's saying, wake up your mighty men. Get ready. Prepare. Because you are going to war. Put all that money that you would have put back into your nation to develop and grow certain things, to develop your people, to develop your infrastructure, to develop your agriculture. Take all that money and put it into war. Put it into your nuclear development. Put it into tanks. Put it into the development of people, your soldiers. Put it into your planes and jets. Put it into your logistics of how you're going to get your troops in and out. Prepare. Get ready for war. And a big part of that preparation is having soldiers to prepare, to train, to fight in this coming war. And this time it's going to be both men and women, as Dave said, because women vote. So that's more than enough for them to go to war. They call themselves our equals, so they need to go fight this war too. In which a lot of them are going to eventually be able to get out of it, but nonetheless, war is being prepared. As it says in Ecclesiastes, there's a time for peace and there's a time for war. And we're in that time of war. And so the Lord's telling these Gentiles to prepare for that. And they will. And they're going to go down and fight. And it will be the end of them. So this is 2nd Esdras 16 and verse 33. The virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. So that is showing a lack of men. And it's going to tell you why right here. In the wars shall the bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. And so, this war in which they're talking about the draft for, or having a draft for, or otherwise known as conscription, where you force somebody to go into your military to go fight. These men are going to perish. They're not going to come back. There's no way they're coming back, because this is that third world war. This is the third woe. This is the troops gathering into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and they're not going to return. And so that's going to leave these women mourning and wishing that they had men to help them, to be with them. But they're not going to be able to return, because this is the Lord's judgment. This is definitely going to happen. The apostles have been saying it for years and years, that there'll eventually be another major war, that there'll eventually be another draft, that Yahushua is returning to take this place. And so, Lord willing, that was edifying. I'd like to give all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahushua Bahasham, Rakach Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect of Israel. Shalom.